podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premiere Network Saturday, December 7th, 2019. This is episode 1650. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Simply Safe. Simply Safe protects every door, window, and room with 24/7 professional monitoring. Take advantage of Simply Safe's holiday savings, and for a limited time, get a free HD security camera at simplysafe.com/twit. And by Brave. Brave is the browser reimagined. Switch now to get unmatched speed and privacy and stop trackers from following you. Save battery life and earn rewards by opting into privacy-respecting ads. Brave is free and easy to switch to. Go to brave.com/twit and switch to Brave today. And by Epson's EcoTank printers. This holiday, kiss expensive ink cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yeah, time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, smart everything, smart homes. Phone number is 888-827-5536. That's 8888-ASK-LEO. And you can call that from anywhere, toll-free, from the U.S. and Canada. Outside the U.S. and Canada, you could still do it for free. You have to use Skype out or something like that to call. It shouldn't cost you anything. 888-827-5536. There is a website associated with the show, and I mentioned that right up front so that if you hear something on the show you want to know more, you can go right there to techguylabs.com. It's where I am with my lab coat and my Bunsen burners and my beakers, mixing up a stew of hearty chemicals. techguylabs.com, and that's free. There's no sign up, but everything I talk about, all the links and everything will be up there. Thanks to James DeRuvo writing it all down, and then we also put audio and video from the show up there after the fact. FBI has discovered that your fridge and your laptop should not be on the same network. This is a hard thing to do for most people, and I'm kind of surprised. This comes from the Portland, Oregon FBI. It's their Tech Tuesday segment. And, hey, far be it from me to say that we shouldn't be secure in our IoT devices. And I think this is good advice. It's not even bad advice. It's just hard to do. This week, says Tech Tuesday, the FBI, Portland, we're looking at the larger Internet of Things. Everything in your home that connects to the World Wide Web. Okay, I'm going to give them 2 points off for that because it's not the World Wide Web, it's the Internet. There's a distinction. If you look at the holiday wish list that your kids, spouse, and parents conveniently dropped on you last week at Thanksgiving, I like how you see they make it very, cozy and personal. Most everything on there probably makes the cut, except for the roller skates and the bicycle. But everything else, if it's in your house and it connects to the internet, it is considered a IoT device. I'll say that for them. Digital assistants, yep, check that off. Smartwatches. Actually, that's not strictly true, but most smartwatches don't connect directly to the internet. They go through your phone, right? But some have, I guess some have Wi-Fi now. So yeah, we'll give them that one. Fitness trackers, definitely not. Again, they connect to your phone. Okay. So the FBI, a little unclear on some of these concepts here. Home security devices, again, no, unless they have an internet component, which many don't. Thermostats, some of them, the internet-connected ones. Refrigerators, very few, but there are, I believe it or not, refrigerators with internet connections these days. Samsung makes them. They got a browser in them. Even light bulbs, if you have Hue or some other internet-connected light bulbs. Not all of them are. In the case of the Hues, they don't have Wi-Fi in the light bulb. What has the Wi-Fi is the Hue base. But, for all intents and purposes, I guess that's internet connected. Not World Wide Web connected, but add to that all of the fun stuff, writes the FBI. What does the FBI consider fun? Remote-controlled robots. Yeah. Games and gaming systems. Interactive dolls and talking stuffed animals. Okay. When you pull the string on the thing and it talks to you, doesn't mean it's connected to the internet. Lately, there are quite a few, but, goes on to say the FBI, the list seems endless. I don't want to diss this. I know I am, but the point is well taken, even if the details are a little off. What these all have in common is they send and receive data. But do you know how data is collected? And where it's going? That has nothing to do with hackers. Now you're talking privacy, FBI. Now you're talking the Goog. Okay. Another concern, here we go, is that hackers can use that innocent device to do a virtual drive-by of your digital life. Unsecured devices can allow hackers a path into your router. That's accurate. Giving the bad guy access to everything else on your home network that you thought was secure. This is okay. I'm gonna rewrite this and send it off to the FBI, but maybe I should just to you explain. And by the way, I'll give you the advice that they give you, which is actually good. Change the device's factory settings from the default password. You may say, well, wait a minute, my lights don't have a password. Most of these devices, in fact, don't. But if it's a router, yes, don't use the default password. A simple internet search should tell you how, because we don't know. And if you can't find the information, consider moving on to another product. Oh, okay. Passwords should be as long as possible and unique for IoT devices. Okay, if you can log into a device from outside your home, that's when you have to be worried. You can't, if you're using your smartphone to log into your Hue lights, you don't need to make it as long as possible, and that's different. Many connected devices are supported by mobile apps on your phone. Yes, these apps could be running in the background and using default permissions you never realized you approved. This is confusing. Know what kind of personal information these apps are collecting and say no to privilege requests that don't make sense. That has nothing to do with hackers. Just want to say that has nothing to do with hackers. They're kind of mixing things in here. That's privacy. Okay. But it's not bad advice. It's just different. Secure your network. Your fridge and your laptop should not be on the same network. Oh. For most, keep your private sensitive data on a separate system from your other IoT devices. So what apparently the FBI wants you to do is go out and get a separate internet connection and have one internet for your for your laptop and one internet for your refrigerator. Again, probably not bad advice, but not practical. Make sure all your devices are updated regularly. I agree. Good thing to say, FBI. If automatic updates are available for software, hardware, and operating systems, turn them on. Let me just edit this a little bit and say, here's the deal. Security is hard, but there are a few things you absolutely should do. One is keep your systems up to date. That's really true. And that's one of the reasons we're making such a big deal about Windows 7, because as you probably have heard on this show many times now, Microsoft's going to stop updating Windows 7 come January 14th. Mm-hmm. So that's problematic. In that case, you won't be able to update it. So if you have stuff you can't update, then that's maybe time to move on. Then I would agree with the FBI. Maybe time to move on if you cannot update it. Furthermore, if you buy devices that connect to the internet of any kind, especially IoT devices, doorbells, refrigerators, toaster ovens, all of those things should have over-the-air updates available, and the manufacturer should be able to push those. You shouldn't have to go around to every light bulb in your house and update it. No one's going to do that. So I think the real important thing here is to pick an IoT device, whatever's connected in your house to the internet, that automatically updates. You'll update your computer and your phones. We know you're going to do that. But there's a lot of other stuff in your house that connects to the internet, and you may not go around and updating that. And that's really important. I'll give you an example. The Ring doorbell. They discovered it's possible, not likely, but if a bad guy came and unscrewed your Ring doorbell from your front door and then connected it, got in the car, connected it to a device that he had, that he could read your Wi-Fi login and password. Ooh, that's bad. Then put it back on your door, and now he can log into your Wi-Fi as long as he's sitting on the curb out front of your house. So that's a security flaw. But the good news is that Ring, when it learned of this, before it became public, pushed out an update to all the doorbells that they had sold, automatically fixing that problem. That's what you want. You want a device that the manufacturer will, A, be keeping up to date, not Windows 7, and B, be regularly pushing updates out to. So if there is a flaw, they can fix it. Because that's the real risk of these IoT devices, that they could become a gateway into your network if they've got a security flaw. And that's something the FBI didn't really kind of address here. So that's really important. Don't buy IoT devices that are from companies that aren't big and keeping it up to date. That means a lot of these IoT devices, which come from China, they don't care. They just, and if you've got an internet-connected camera in your bedroom, and they don't care, and they don't update it, and the password never was changed because you didn't even know you could, that's not good. Somebody could tune into that from across the internet. That's not so good. So be careful where you get this stuff. If you're getting your stuff from big name companies, Apple, Google, Microsoft, like the Nest, pay attention. Ask me if you're not sure, and I'll tell you, this is a good company. It's updating it. If it's not, don't get it. That's really important. Those are the two big things. Updates, really. If you are really advanced and you know how to create a VLAN and you have a switch or router in your house that is capable of creating a VLAN, then it would be a good idea to create a separate virtual network for your IoT devices. The number of people who can do that, I can count on the fingers of one hand. And I think the FBI suggesting you have a separate internet for your IoT devices just doesn't, I think that's probably not very useful. So this is the problem. Security is hard. Even the Portland FBI doesn't really seem to understand it. I'm sure they got some intern to write this. I hope they got some intern to write this. But I just thought I'd pass it along. You're going to see the headlines. FBI recommends separate network for your IoT devices. And yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't know if people really know how to do it. The best way to do it is not to have a separate internet, but to have a virtual network that isolates those devices. And that's actually hard to do. You have to have some specialized hardware. All right. Not ragging on the FBI. They do God's work. Very important. Just want to clarify some of the points in that, and you probably will see this in your newspaper. I hope they clarify it too. Scott Wilkinson, home theater guru, is ready. He's coming up in a few minutes, but let's get to the phones. Your call's next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah. So Lumpy in the chat room says, there's the rain. Listen to the rain. He says, and this is a common thing, and this is why the FBI's advice is so complicated. He uses a guest network for his IoT devices. Does not secure it. Does not secure it. What you need, that's the problem. You need to segment your network with a switch or a VLAN, and that's something that's not the average bear.
If you want to control them, your phone needs to be on them.
And then your phone will have to join the VLAN, and that means your phone is now insecure. So it's really not practical advice. The best advice is only buy IoT devices from well-known companies who stand behind their devices and will update them. No, the guest network is not isolated. That's the problem. I mean, some devices it may be. It's not a VLAN. Doesn't matter, Lumpy. It accomplishes absolutely nothing. You just have a guest network. If your IoT device has an exploit, they can still get into your main network. That's the point. It needs to be on an isolated network, which the guest network is not. Yeah, you could do the 3 dumb routers, which is dumb. You could, best advice if you're really sophisticated, go out and buy the $50 Ubiquiti, what is it called? Edge Router X, right? Yeah. It's $50. It's not Wi-Fi. It's a 4-port switch, but it has VLAN capabilities. So if you're sophisticated enough to set up a VLAN, you could put your Wi-Fi you can have 2 Wi-Fi access points. And put one on VLAN 1 and the other one on VLAN 2, and to make sure your IoT devices are on VLAN 2. And then, but of course, if you want to control your IoT devices, you have to be on VLAN 2, which means suddenly you're on the same LAN as your IoT devices. So you've really accomplished absolutely nothing. It's just dopey. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even have my own theme music, but Kim Schaffer does. She's the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer. You know what? Kimmy don't take no Schaffer.
You should have your own theme song.
Well, I guess, the thing that begins the show is my theme song.
Is there any songs with the word Leo in them, and the name Leo in them?
Oh, there are, yeah. There's a guy, this was some years ago. You can set up, talk about insecure Wi-Fi networks. You can set up your Wi-Fi network to notice when you've joined it. Some people like Comcast does this. One of my routers, the Eero router, does this. It'll notify you, hey, we got a new device on the network. You can set up your router to set up a notification when you join the network. And there was a guy who set up speakers in the front door and a script, probably if this then that script, that when he came close enough to the Wi-Fi to be on the network, it would start playing his theme song.
Oh, my gosh.
The Rocky theme or whatever as he walks in the door. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I think that guy has a bit of an ego, especially if he chose the Rocky theme. Yeah.
As you
he thought
walk
some
in
extra special stuff about himself.
As you walk in the door. And we could actually do it here. We could set it up so every individual
that would be actually kind of cool.
has their own theme song. And when you walk in the door, unbreakable. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be kind of cool. I admit.
It's
like having your own ringtone, but better.
Yeah, better, because it's announcing to the world,
that
the Schaffer has arrived. Elvis is in the building. Kim, you've been here. Gosh, you must have been here for hours.
Yeah, all of about 15 minutes. No, actually, 25.
You got quite a few. There's quite a few calls in here.
Yeah.
Should I take one of them?
Yeah, so how about Dean in Brea, California, looking for I think a large size tablet, not a Mac.
A big one
that you can use to put on his piano.
Oh, yeah, for sheet music. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Hello, Dean.
Hi, good morning.
Are you a pianist?
I have been most of my life, yes.
Nice.
Don't do it for a living anymore. I'm retired, but I do a lot of private teaching, and I accompany various groups, and I'm always carrying around stacks of books and putting out papers that hang all over the piano.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine who's an accompanist and a professional jazz pianist has an iPad Pro that he uses and he loves, but I've never had any Mac experience. I'm always been a PC user. I read about a product called an Onyx Books Max 3.
Don't. Just don't.
So, yeah.
Just don't.
I heard that if you want to repair it, it's either Israel or Hong Kong.
Save yourself a lot of trouble. Job one is this tablet's got to have good sheet music software, right?
Right, exactly.
Does the Onyx Book Pro have anything you can use for sheet music?
It said something about you couldn't even get on Google with it.
So forget it.
Yeah.
So
There's this on YouTube. There's a guy who I guess helped invent it, and he does this whole tutorial about how it's the greatest thing.
Well, maybe it is. Really, the first thing is to figure out which sheet music program you want to use, and then once you figure that out, you can buy a tablet that works with it. Apple sells iPads. And one that would be perfect for this. In fact, I've seen many musicians, including my friend Steve Martin, use iPads for sheet music. This is not at all uncommon. And the lowest cost iPad list is $329. I've seen it on Black Friday for $229. It's buying an Onyx. How much is the Onyx Pad Pro?
It was $859 or something like that, but it had a 13-inch screen, which allows you to put the full-size piece of music on it.
$859. You could buy a laptop. You could buy.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things you could get for that. That's a very expensive. Is it designed for sheet music?
Well, it's supposed to be a reader more.
Oh, it's a reader. Okay.
Yeah. And they say it's an extremely expensive price to pay for a reader.
It is outrageously expensive.
You can use it for sheet music, and because of the large size of the screen, it makes it so much easier to
honestly
to read.
iPad, and there's really a lot of good sheet music software out there, and it would cost you a lot less. You can get a 12.9-inch iPad for that price. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I feel like the Onyx Book is an e-reader, and by the way, it's Books, B-O-O-X. Books
okay.
Is an e-reader, which means it has e-ink. That is a kind of screen that looks more like paper, but is very slow. It's not very responsive, has very visible page turns. You could get this, but it would be pretty much a dedicated device. You wouldn't. It wouldn't.
Well, that's all I would need it for.
You might find if you bought an iPad, there's other things you could do crossword puzzles on it. It can play the music, which the Onyx Books can't.
Well, may I ask you just one quick question? There was a Samsung Tab Pro 12.2.
Much better.
That was. But they don't seem to make it anymore. So
they make new. There's new ones. They make them.
There are.
Yeah, that's the notebook. It's a Samsung Note, but they. Oh yeah, and they make them. The biggest iPad is expensive. It's 12.9 inches. That's an iPad Pro.
Right.
And that's as expensive as your Books, but actually not quite as expensive as your Books. The reason that one's so expensive is, I think, an e-ink screen at that size is probably a special kind of thing. I would start with your sheet music program, and I would even ask fellow musicians, because there are lots of people out there doing this. This is really, really common.
Right.
There's Coda. There's a whole bunch of programs for doing sheet music, and some of them will play it. Some of them will allow you to edit, which is probably a lot of these capabilities might be more than you need. You want the largest.
I'm able to download my own. I do a lot of writing and arranging.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And do you do it on a piece of paper?
No, I do it on computer. I use a program.
Okay.
Finale.
Finale, of course.
Yeah.
So you've already got it in Finale. So what you're going to look for is tablet software that will take your Finale score and display it.
Right.
And I think the best bet absolutely is going to be the iPad. And you shouldn't assume that the $329 iPad is almost 9 inches. I think that probably is. I know you'd like it to be the size of the piece of paper on in a score, but hey, let me ask Scott. Scott's a tuba player. Scott, do you use any sheet music software for your?
I don't, and I've been wanting to. I've been wanting to transition to the iPad for a long time, and I just haven't had time to research it and figure out what's best. But I certainly would get an iPad, no question.
Right. I think that's the one. And the
learning curve is not terrible if you've never ever used Apple.
Oh, it's not Apple specific. In fact, it's really designed for anybody. Have you ever used a smartphone?
Yes, of course. Sure.
Have you used their Android or iPhone?
Android.
Yeah. It's just like that.
Okay.
It's very small difference. You might look at the larger one if size really matters. I think an iPad Pro is actually spectacular. And there are a number, and by the way, it supports a pencil, so you can, like in Finale, but you can edit the score with a pencil. You can draw in notes, you could change the...
What's really important, what would be really important for me is to be able to write in little notes like softer here.
Yeah,
or
perfect.
Really hit this one,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
Well, this friend that I have that has the iPad, he had to download another software program in order to be able to do that.
That's typical. That's what it's like. A computer, it's like your phone. You have to pick the program, but that's the advantage of it. You can choose one that works for you.
I've started playing around with a program called iReal Pro, but I think it only gets files from the real book, from iReal Book, which is a fake book.
And there are.
I don't think you can. I'm not sure that you can import PDFs. I hope. I want to find something that you can do that.
Hold on,
too.
because we got to come. Finale is available on the iPad. So,
okay.
So if you like Finale, you can get it on the iPad.
Then that's the way I'll go.
Yeah, that's what I would look at. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care. It's time for Scott Wilkinson, home theater guru. He's the home theater geek at techhive.com and a regular on our show every week. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Before we get to your segment, let's mention Tuba Christmas because it's tomorrow.
Thank you. It is tomorrow. Everybody in L.A., I hope to see you. It's at 3 p.m. Go to tubachristmasla.com for all the details. We're going to have over 100 tubas on stage playing Christmas music and some Hanukkah music. I just wrote a brand new arrangement of a Hanukkah song called Ocho Candelicas, 8 Little Candles. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's audience participation. Santa Claus shows up. Really family-friendly fun. So
nice.
I'm really hoping it doesn't rain.
Well, you're not outside, are you?
No, we're not. But, you know, getting there and parking and getting into the hall. It's a beautiful hall, by the way. Interestingly, it's on the grounds of Forest Lawn Cemetery. And you go, wait, what? A concert in a cemetery? Well, they happen to have a gorgeous concert hall. And they make it available for nonprofit organizations such as Tuba Christmas.
How many tubas are in Tuba Christmas?
Well, ours has over 100.
That's enough to wake the dead. 100 tubas playing Silent Night.
Exactly. You've never heard anything like it. Believe me.
Wow. That sounds like so much fun. Tuba Christmas LA. Kids are, of course, welcome.
Absolutely. We encourage it. We love to have kids and whole families come out, and I work really hard to make it a really fun show. So I hope to see a bunch of people out there.
TubaChristmasLA.com. It's free, but you do need to get tickets. You can go to that website.
No, you don't need to get tickets.
Oh,
just show up. Just show up. It's a big hall, 1,200-seat auditorium.
We should be able to accommodate everybody then.
Exactly.
Nice. Details.
We'll even have a food truck there if you want to grab lunch.
What time?
The food truck's there at 1 o'clock. The concert starts at 3.
3 p.m. tomorrow.
Yep.
I think you got to bring the kids. They've never seen 100 tubas.
That's right. Of all different shapes and sizes.
All at the same time. Now, Scott joins us to talk not about wind instruments, but to talk instead about home theater. What's the topic for today?
Well, I've got an email from a listener that I wanted to talk about. His name is Josh Henry. And he said, I've heard you on the Tech Guy and always enjoyed hearing your stuff. I have a question. I've got a Sony X900F TV, excellent TV, by the way. I love the picture quality. I was wondering if you had any recommendations of what to do to improve the quality or make it as good as possible. Well, yes, absolutely. There's a new disc out from two guys, Spears and Munsell.
Oh, I know them.
Sure. They're color scientists. They're deeply into this whole thing. And they made a disc called UHD HDR Benchmark, which is a UHD Blu-ray. So it's a 4K Blu-ray. You need a UHD Blu-ray player to play it. But if you have that, it's got all the patterns on there you need to really optimize the TV to its best possible, well, almost its best possible performance. To get it any better, you'd have to hire a professional calibrator, and that would cost you several $100s.
Like Scott.
Like me. Exactly.
You don't go around doing that for people, though. I
don't these days anymore. I used to, but there are plenty of people out there who do. So just look up, if you want to hire a calibrator, go to imagingscience.org, I think is the website. It's for the Imaging Science Foundation. Google Imaging Science Foundation, and you'll find it. And they have lists of calibrators that they have trained and certified. So you know you're getting good quality in various areas around the country. So, just find one in your area, and they should be able to help you out. But he also asks another question, and this other question is, he has a Vizio soundbar, and he wants to get it to work with the same remote as the TV. And he said, no matter what I do, I can't get my TV remote to control the Vizio soundbar. Well, that's not surprising, because the Sony remote for that X900F TV is not universal. It is not learning. It's not a learning remote. You can't teach it the codes for anything else. He also has an Apple TV, and he wondered if that remote would work, and I don't think it will.
It will.
Oh, it will?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you can the Apple remote is teachable.
Oh, okay.
And you might even be able to use that Vizio with your Sony if you turn on CEC. Sometimes CEC goes both directions. I have CEC TVs that will control the sound bar as well. That's
possible.
Sony calls it what? Sony Link or something? They have some weird...
Yeah, Bravia Link.
Bravia Link. Oh, yeah.
Right, because, yeah. CEC, by the way, stands for Consumer Electronics Control, and it's basically a way for different components to communicate with each other over HDMI. This is the cable that you use to connect things together these days.
Now, that's a problem if your soundbar is connected via optical, which most people use.
It won't work.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Some soundbars use HDMI, though, right?
Correct. Some do. This Vizio looks like it's maybe 1 or 2 years old, so it probably would. I didn't actually look that one up, but it's a good point. The other option that I wanted to point out is a true universal remote, and we've talked about this before, and you know that I really like the Logitech Harmony universal remotes because they're very easy to program, and you can get them for not much money. They're the two that I'm interested in. The one I would recommend most is the Logitech Harmony 665, which is selling for $40 on Amazon. And, so if you can spend $40 on this remote, that is a great way to go. I use a Harmony, and I recommend it to anybody who wants to really unify the operation of their entire system. The problem with CEC, you mentioned CEC, is that it's not entirely reliable. I've had some problems with it. And so if it works, it's great. But for example, I turn off my system, and then all of a sudden my receiver will turn back on 5 minutes later. And I go, what? And it's just CEC being weird.
The worst thing about CEC is that if you have other devices connected, they can command the TV to switch to them.
Yes.
And I have a Android TV device, an NVIDIA Shield, that periodically says, "No, I'm in charge here, and I'm watching here. Don't switch." Right. So CEC can be more trouble than it's worth.
Be more trouble than it's worth, and that's why I recommend spending the $40. Get a Logitech Harmony, and it's easy to program. You don't have to program. You don't have to be a programmer to do it. You just have to tell it on the website. You hook it up with USB to your computer. You go to the website. You say, okay, when I watch TV, I want to turn on the TV. I want to set to this input. I want to turn on my sound system, or my sound bar in this case, and then it downloads the proper instructions to the remote, and you tell it what TV you have, what sound bar you have, in this case Sony, Vizio, and so on. It's very easy, and makes the operation of your system very easy and nice. So that's what I recommend.
And take a look at Bravia Sync to see if maybe you can.
Maybe
do that.
it might.
Yeah.
You have to look at the Vizio as well to see if it's enabled CEC.
Right.
Consumer.
What a nightmare.
I know. Well, that's why I get to come on your show every week and talk about this stuff.
And that's why my wife says you can never die, because I won't be able to watch TV. Every system is so idiosyncratic that only the person who set it up really understands. I know. I don't even understand it. It just works. Scott Wilkinson, home theater geek. Read his writing at techhive.com, and he joins us every week right here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think it might be imagescience.org, not imaging. Here, I don't know. This is something, imagescience.org. I don't know if it's the right.
Let me take a look here. I thought it was imaging science.
It might be. It might just be something different. I will talk about, when we get back, I'll talk about some scoring software. I was wrong. Finale is not available on the iPad.
I would not have guessed so either.
There are ways to view Finale on the iPad.
Right. But Finale is a pretty complex program.
Well, there's some pretty cool scoring stuff, but you're right, it's not going to do what Finale would do. I would think they'd write a Finale viewer at least on the iPad or at Interconnect. If you Fourscore looks good, Beatmaster. I'll show that. Go ahead, Scott.
It's imagingscience.com.
Okay, imagingscience.com. Okay.
I just looked it up. So that's what you should go look at for calibrators. If you want to go that extra 20%. Using UHD HD benchmark will get you 70-80% of the way to the TV's absolute best performance. Maybe farther. Depends on the TV. But it'll get you most of the way there. If you want to eke out that last little bit of performance, then go hire a ISF trained calibrator, for several $100s, and you'll get the absolute best that TV can do. And for an X900F, I would say it might well be worth it, depending on how much you spent on it. If you spend less than $1,000 on a TV, are you really going to spend $400 more to calibrate it? I don't think many people would. But if you spent several $1,000s, then absolutely, it'd be worth it. So, hey, everybody. So nice to see you all. Chickenhead 21. Yeah, I miss home theater geeks, too. I do indeed. Let's see here. Beatmaster said something. Oh, Fourscore. As I said, I'm looking for a program like this myself, because I really want to make the transition to iPad music also. I'm an old guy. I've been using paper all my life, so what can I say? Turbocharger sheet music, Fourscore, F-O-R-S-C-O-R-E. So it's got a 4.9 out of 5. That's pretty darn good. In terms of its rating. Well, I'm going to have to check that out. Thank you for recommending that. Let's see. Beatmaster says CEC has come a long way. It works well these days. Well, that's good. But if you have a TV or a device that's a couple years old, it may not. I just have to say I have not been that pleased. It works for the Apple TV, Beatmaster says. I use it that way. Oh, good. Okay. CEC he's talking about. So that's good. Maybe it would be okay. Logan 5, just don't play tubas loud enough to wake the dead. Well, that may be unavoidable. Let's see here. Oh, Dobby's in Torrance. Come on up to Tuba Christmas. I hope you can. Dr. Mom Grandma, exactly right. The tune I just arranged, Ocho Candelicas, is in Ladino, which is the Sephardic Jewish variation of Spanish, just like Yiddish is the Ashkenazi variation of German.
So The chat room is weighing in on scoring on an iPad. Actually, there are a lot of people who do it for sheet music, but there are some really amazing scoring apps for the iPad. Sibelius has been around for a long time, but the one Apple demonstrated, and Beatmaster's reminded me of this, when the iPad Pro came out, I think they demonstrated, it's called ForScore, F-O-R, Score, ForScore, $15 program. Lets you use the Apple Pencil if you have an iPad Pro to annotate, to modify scores. Our caller might just want something simple they can just turn the pages with, but ForScore is very cool. If you have an Apple laptop and you're using Finale, another way to do this would be to have Finale on the laptop and then pair your iPad. The new Apple operating system, Catalina, has a screen sharing capability that's really amazing that lets you use your iPad as a second screen with your Mac computer. So if your Mac computer, laptop or desktop, I guess, is near enough to your piano where you're teaching, you've got something on Finale, you can display the sheet music on your iPad wirelessly over to it. So that's another way to do that. That would give you the equivalent of Finale on the iPad. I apologize, I misspoke. Finale is not yet available for the iPad. There's, in fact, a lot of people, I've been looking, a lot of people saying, when is Finale gonna come out for the iPad? I think ForScore is a great place to start. And Tactus in our chat room, Tactus says that he knows of conductors that use ForScore. So you could have a pretty elaborate score on that iPad. I understand the size constraint. And that's maybe why a 12.9-inch iPad, the iPad Pro, would probably be the best choice. Rumor has it, we thought maybe Apple would announce a new iPad Pro this year. No. So rumor has it it'll be in the spring that we'll see new iPad Pros. They're kind of due. They're kind of ready, I think. Line 2 is Vince in Santa Barbara. Hi, Vince. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Shalom, Leo. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. You too.
So look, we're kind of thinking about retiring, going cruising on a sailboat.
Oh, nice.
We need a chart plotter. We're on kind of a shoestring budget, and chart plotters are expensive.
Yeah.
So I did some research and found out, yes, you can. Well, we have a handheld, Garmin GPS, fine. We have some paper charts, fine. Well, sure, it'd be nice to be able to use a tablet as a chart plotter. Wouldn't it be? And this is where I got so confused. I went and tried to read, for example, on YouTube, people there's videos that give the wrong information. For example, on Amazon, there's a tablet called the Dragon Touch T10.
Oh man, you're just like that last guy. Don't go. Look. These off-brand tablets are just iPad clones and copies, and in most cases, you're not going to get a great experience. The iPad supports something called iNavX, which is a chart plotter for iOS and iPad, or iPhone and iPad. And I would take a look at that before I would try some weird third party.
Well, look, I made the mistake. I bought the T10, right, the Dragon Touch. It says on Amazon, it says GPS, but it turns out there is no onboard GPS. The GPS is Wi-Fi dependent. So we went 10 miles offshore, there's nothing. So my specific question is that it seems like, you feel free to correct me, there has to be onboard GPS, and the clue is that the tablet must have not only instead of Wi-Fi, it must have cellular. And what is the connection between cellular and GPS? I mean, there are no cellular towers out at.
No, it's not connected. It's just that if they've spent the money as Apple does, and they cost $129 more than the standard iPad, they're putting in a chipset from Qualcomm that does both GPS and LTE. And so it's the same with Apple's iPads. There's no GPS on Apple's iPads unless you get the LTE iPads. Now, here's the good news. You can get a third-party GPS device that will work with any device that can do Bluetooth, which probably includes that weirdo tablet and certainly includes...
No, I sent it back.
Good man.
I sent it back.
Oh, that's a relief. Now you know why I don't recommend these kind of off-brand weirdo things. Dual electronics, and actually this is a recommendation a listener gave me some time ago, and I bought it, makes what they call a universal Bluetooth GPS receiver for $65.
Whoa.
And it's you put that, you can keep your iPad inside the cabin, but you can put that somewhere where it's got line of sight to the sky, because as you know, you need good line of sight to the sky. And this thing is it's actually faster. My experience has been faster than the GPS in the phone. It's Bluetooth. So you pair it to your device, iPhone, iPad, whatever. So you could actually probably use it with that Dragon. I'm glad you sent it back, though. There'll be other problems with that. And the dual electronics, the one I bought on Amazon is the XGPS 150A. They have a couple of models, and it will pair right up to any tablet or phone, give you the GPS. Now, that's half the price of what Apple charges for the additional capability. So unless you want the LTE when you're land-bound, I would say, do this. Plus, it has the advantage. You can position it a little bit better than the iPad. You can put it right there in the, what do they call it on a boat? A windshield? You can put it right there in the windshield.
Well, there's a Dodger, nice Dodger.
Dodger, yeah. Put it out in the Dodger.
Solar panels, and we have a little Yeti battery thing underneath. And
But I would look at this iNav X, because this looks like it is a very good choice for... it's very much, it's a lot like our previous caller who wanted to do sheet music on an iPad. The reason you go with an iPad is because the variety and quality of applications available on iOS is far superior to Android.
Oh.
And the quality of the hardware is far superior. You may pay more. You can get a $99 Android tablet, but I'm not sure I'd recommend it. I think it's worth getting an iPad. And considering you can get an iPad for as little as $329, I see no reason not to.
Okay, last question. How do you keep the thing from water? Out at sea, everything gets...
Yeah, and the salt water is corrosive and stuff. Yeah, that's a good question. You can definitely buy waterproof cases. I bet you have them for your phone. You can buy them for the iPad as well. So you just put it in a waterproof case. The key on the waterproof case for an iPad, just like with the phone, is you have to be able to touch the screen. So it's going to have the clear part is going to be capacitive so that you can touch the screen and use it through the protector. But yeah, or just put it in a Ziploc bag.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I use, when I go... kayaking or snorkeling or whatever, and I want to bring an iPhone with me, I just bring a wet bag. They have waterproof wet bags that are clear that you can touch the screen through it. And so that's fine, too. It's not as elegant as a case designed to be waterproof. Nowadays, iPads are widely used for navigation, at least in the air. In fact, I can't remember which airline. Was it Northwest? I can't remember which airline eliminated, because the pilot will get on board with briefing bag full of charts and paperwork and all that stuff. And I know at least one airline, I bet you many now, have abandoned that big, heavy briefcase, and they've started using iPads and all the materials on there. I'd still want a paper printout just in case. But this is absolutely the way it's going. And I have to say, I did buy, there was a recommendation from a listener, the dual electronics standalone GPS. At that price, $65. That's really great. And he said he got it even though his iPhone has GPS. He purchased it because it picks up faster. You notice that lag when you're trying to get GPS. The problem with GPS driving in the car is even the littlest tiny bit of lag, you're going to miss that turn. Turn here. Wait a minute. I'm already past that. So he recommended it for that reason. And yeah, it works really well.
Hey, everybody. It's amazing. I just this minute got a phone call from somebody who wants to bring his kids to Tuba Christmas. They're both baritone players, and I'm just thrilled about that. We really, really, really love to have young students come and play, especially because we have a group of top professionals who have a featured set in the concert. And I do this because they provide inspiration to students, up and coming tuba players. You could sound like that if you practice and study. And are dedicated, you could become a really great player like these guys and gals. There's actually some women in there as well. So this is a very important thing for me, is to encourage students to play music. I mean, even if you don't become a professional, playing music is a lot of fun. It helps you feel really good being in a musical group. And it also helps other cognitive functions. If you can play music, if you know music to some degree, you're better at math. You're better at other studies, other subjects in school. So it's just all around such a great thing to do. And that's why I spend so much time and effort and money putting together Tuba Christmas. Now, we were talking in the chat room about HDMI 2.1 and cables that carry 48 gigabits per second, and that is the top rate of HDMI 2.1, the new upcoming HDMI standard. What we have right now is 2.0, which maxes out at 18 gigabits per second, which is fine for 4K at 24 frames per second. But if you want 4K at a higher frame rate, or with a higher chroma subsampling, which is a kind of a technical term, it has to do with the amount of compression that is being applied to the signal, then you need higher than 18. You need 48. Now, up until this year, we haven't had any devices that implemented HDMI 2.1 at 48 gigabits per second. At CES, we will see some TVs. We already have. LG's a 77-inch 8K OLED has 48 gigabit HDMI 2.1 inputs. But that's the only one I know of. There may be one or two others that I don't know of yet, but at CES we're going to see a lot more TVs that have that high bandwidth HDMI input. And of course, you need a cable that carries HDMI, that carries 48 gigabits per second. And I had not known that there was any testing procedure for that high speed. There is a testing procedure for 18, and I recommend that people look for cables that have a particular sticker called Premium HDMI Cable, I think it's called, that verifies that the HDMI Association has tested it and knows that it carries 18 gigabits per second. I didn't know that they had a testing procedure for 48 gigabits per second, but apparently, at least the HDMI, somebody in the chat room sent me a link to the HDMI administrators, what the actual organization is called, and they seem to have actually implemented a program where you can identify a cable that does carry 48 because it's labeled ultra high speed HDMI cable. And it appears on the outer jacket as well as on the cable itself. And so apparently they have developed a testing procedure, and I didn't know that. So this is all good to know. Dr. Mom Grandma says, you get the same results with handcrafts like knitting and needle arts. Any creative hand activity which engages your brain is beneficial. Agreed. Completely agree with that. Yes. And music is one of those things. And that's the one I happen to know. So that's the one I'm going to say. Compter is asking, is HDMI 2.1 a must-have? And if the TV or receiver does not have it, is it a pass? Well, if a TV or receiver doesn't have an HDMI 2.1 connector on it that does 48, then there's no reason to have a high-speed cable. On the other hand, somebody here said that they got, here it was, Scooter X said they got a 3-pack of monoprice Ultra 8K high-speed HDMI cables, 48 gigabits per second, 6-foot cables for $30. That's amazing. That's really amazing. That's $10 a piece for 6-foot cables. Now, I will say this, 48 gigabits per second is going to be harder and harder to do over longer lengths. So 6 feet is probably the max. And if you need a longer cable than that, you're going to have to get one that has a booster in it, or converts it to fiber optic, and then you can send it for a mile. But those cables are not cheap. So anyway, the saga of HDMI high speed continues, and we're going to see a lot of products at CES with that. I am absolutely certain. Let's see. Compter also says the LG C, E, G, and W9 have HDMI 2.1. I didn't know that all of them did. I'm pretty surprised if that's true. Current models. Now, the next year's models, I expect will. But I didn't know that the current ones did. I would be real surprised at that if that were really true. But maybe it is. K-Lou says, wouldn't it have been nice if they had just had you use 2 standard HDMI carriers to carry the amount of data 2.1 provides? Actually, that wouldn't work because two quote-unquote standard HDMI cables would be at 18. And 2 times 18 is 36. 36 is not up to 48, so that wouldn't work. You need 3 of them. In fact, when I reviewed the LG Z9, this 77-inch, I think it was 77-inch, maybe it might be 85, 8K. We played some uncompressed 8K on that thing, and it required 4 cables to get that into the TV. So that was holy smokes. Edmonton Oiler guy says, my understanding is the LG C965 has HDMI 2.1. You know what? I'm going to look into that because that surprises me. If that is true, then I will certainly revise my thinking on that, but I would be quite surprised. Beatmaster says here, Club 3D, ultra high-speed HDMI cable, 120 hertz, 9.84 feet. Wow. I wonder if that's a powered cable. That would be kind of surprising if you could get 48 gigabits over 10 feet. Anyway,
thank you, Scotty.
Have my pleasure.
Great
See you next
Tuba
week.
Christmas.
Merry Tuba Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz, all the stuff with chips in it that we talk about. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. We seem to be talking about using tablets where paper would be useful, at least the first hour of the show today, whether it's nav charts or musical charts. And actually, I think it makes sense to use an iPad for these or in an airplane for, your flight plans. But I also feel like there's so many things that can go wrong with digital technology. And I'm not one of those geeks who thinks that everything should be replaced by a computer. I think we've learned our lesson, haven't we? That sometimes paper is the best thing. I'll give you an example. Every time I fly, there's always one guy who has to use his Apple Watch for his plane ticket. There's always that guy, right? And that's the guy who's holding up the whole line, right? He's trying to get through the TSA, and he's scrolling because he can't find the ticket or whatever. And I even remember, and I don't know if this is still the case, but that some of the ticket readers, you're supposed to put your ticket under there and it reads the code. Some of them, the space is so small that you can't get your wrist and a watch in under there. So I don't want to be that guy. So every time I fly, I print a boarding pass. I print it on paper. Now, you can lose it, I admit, and you're maybe more likely to lose a piece of paper than you are your smartphone, but still, and maybe I'll put it on my smartphone and I'll try it, but honestly, the paper, it just works every time. The screen doesn't turn off. I see people that come up to the TSA, a guy says, you got to turn up your brightness. I can't. Or there's always somebody standing aside scrolling through their phone. I know it's here somewhere. There just are some things paper's better for. And I'd hate for you to be performing in a concert and you've got your score on the iPad and then the iPad battery dies. And you're sitting there, I don't know what to do now. I'd hate for that to happen. So there's something to be said for paper. There's something, honestly, of course, I don't have to, it goes without saying, there's a lot to be said for digital technologies. It's just, let's not abandon one for the other. Paper is not out of date. That's for sure. Remember everybody said, oh, the paperless office. I think it was probably Xerox or somebody like that. They probably said it in ads. Paperless office. You don't need, and there's a pretty brisk sale of printers still. That's not going away. Mark Santa Ana, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mark.
Hey, yeah, mine are in email boarding passes in Dropbox as a PDF. So, and then everybody who flies gets a copy of everybody else's boarding ticket.
By the way, do not, if you print it out, destroy it after you get off the plane. Do not just, leave it in the plane backseat, because there's all sorts of information in that barcode I found out that you may not want other people to have. So.
Oh, yeah. No, shredding is my best friend.
Yes.
So, yeah, I had two things. Number one, and I wished I had asked you and Steve at the meeting in Boston, but I've actually wiped a drive, an SSD drive, and except for a few bits and pieces on Sector 0, I used a hex editor. It was all 0. But you guys both say that
it does work. The problem is with the wear leveling. By the way, Mark is, I feel like now an old friend, because when we were in Boston, now that you said Boston, I know who you are. When we were in Boston, he acted as my photographer. We had a 2-hour selfie line. People want to take pictures, and it's so much easier if you have somebody like Mark who says, "Okay, stand in the light, stop talking," because I can't, and smile. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Happy to do it.
So this is the problem with SSDs. And it's a relatively minor problem, but it is something to be aware of anyway. They do something called wear leveling. When people first talked about using solid state memory, flash memory for a hard drive, I remember we actually, Steve Gibson, our security guy that you know well, has a friend, Mark Thompson, lives in Arizona, who tried it. He made his SSD a swap disk, because he said, well, that'll be faster, right? And he burned it out fast. This was in the early days of SSDs, because it turns out any cell in flash memory has a limited number of reads and writes. You can literally wear them out. And so in the early days of SSD drives, people said, oh, this is going to be a terrible thing. People are going to wear out their drives. They're going to be unreliable. But it didn't take long before the drive manufacturers figured out a way around it. They call it wear leveling. And the idea, the software, the firmware in the SSD does this automatically. The idea is it pays attention to how many times each cell's been written and tries to even it out by spreading data all over the drive. And so when you are using a drive, your data is spread out all over the drive. Unfortunately, most of the time when you erase or format a drive, it's not going to get every sector. It's just going to erase the sectors where files live. But there's a lot of, in the past we've used the term slack space. There's a lot of extra space in that drive that may have some data written to it. It's not attached to a file. In most cases, it's probably useless ones and zeros that you won't, but it could be a password. It could be important stuff. Could even be identifiable important stuff. So when Steve and I talk about this, on a standard spinning drive, it's possible to write to every sector and erase it. In other words, ignore the file system, and DBAN and any of these good, drive erasers. That's what they do. They don't look at the file system. They just go sector by sector from 0 through 8 million, whatever the number of sectors is, and they wipe each one individually. You can't do that because of wear leveling on an SSD. You cannot directly address the cells. The firmware gets in the way to preserve the integrity of the drive, which means that you can't wipe a drive in any, except at the file system level, which means some slack space remains, which means some data might leak out. So that's the only thing we warn people about. The best solution is the easiest solution, which is to, and you should be doing this anyway, you should be encrypting any new drive, when you get a new phone these days, an Android or iOS phone, it's already encrypted at the factory in most cases. But when you get a new laptop, both Microsoft and Apple will generally say, would you like to turn on file encryption? Apple always says file vault. In fact, on the newer stuff where it's got enough speed to do this with it completely transparently, it's on by default. Turn that hard drive encryption on all your SSDs. That way, when you're done with it, you don't have to erase it. It's gobbledygook without the login. So if you just erase the Windows or just format the drive, nobody will be able to read any of the slack space either. It's all encrypted. As long as the keys are gone, you can't read it. So that's you very astute, Mark, that you actually looked at the drive level. But I don't know if you looked at every single sector, but there probably were some sectors that had data in it.
I actually looked at, except for, I wished I had a hex header that says, show me anything that isn't 0, but I took like about a half hour and slowly scrolled all the way through the drive.
Remember, you can't scroll from sector 0 to sector 8 million. You're scrolling at the file system level. So you may not even be looking at the sectors with stuff in it.
No, it's saying sector 0, sector 0.
Okay, good, okay. Yeah. That's a lie because an SSD doesn't actually give you sector addressable access, as far as I know.
That's why I was wondering. No, but I also get what you're saying. But the other question I had was, since you always talk a lot about different programming languages, I have text that my dad worked on, and it's like 30 megabytes worth of text, and I wrote an editor for it, but I just want I did it in Turbo Pascal like 20 years ago.
Wow, good man.
I want to take all the hyperlinks out, and I'm wondering, is there better language to program in that can say, find me a left square bracket, anything between the left square bracket, ignore it, and then start copying into another file after the right square bracket.
Of course, any good programming language will have this capability. Even a good editor on Macintosh, I use BB Edit. I bet you Notepad++. Any programmer's editor should be able to do this. But honestly, the way a guru would do it is with an old Unix utility called sed, which stands for Stream Editor. And with sed, it's a one-liner to say, go through all this text and remove any hyperlinks. As long as you know regular expressions. Man, this is a geeky answer, but it's the right answer. But it's a very geeky answer. And a little research on sed online, you can get a sed tutorial. That's the first thing they'll teach you is how to do something like this. That's what people use sed for. It's a command line utility. If you have Macintosh, you can do it right on in the terminal. It even comes with sed. If you have a Windows PC, you don't have sed, but you do have, in many cases, you have WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux. You can install sed if it's not already in it will be. Every distribution comes with sed. There's two tools that go back to the dim, dark days of Unix. There's sed and there's awk. And honestly, knowing those two tools, just a little bit about those two tools, can handle text processing in amazing. You can write one-liners that could do amazing things. So that Pascal program, which is probably several hundred lines, you could probably boil down to just one line of sed. Learn sed. S-E-D, Leo said. It's great to talk to you. Thank you, Mark. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We're going to take a break. Come back and talk some more. Website, techguylabs.com. All right, somebody give me a sed command. Somebody give me the sed command for removing links. I bet you could do it in 5 minutes. Shouldn't be too hard. I bet I could find it. But I want to mention our advertiser today, SimpliSafe. We love SimpliSafe. Burglars are simple people. They're not complicated. If they come up to your house and they see a sign outside that says protected by SimpliSafe, what do you think they do? They don't say, well, let's break in anyway. No, they go to the house that doesn't say protected by SimpliSafe. This is the worst time of year for house burglars. The week after Christmas is the heaviest caseload for local police because break-ins spike because they figure, they got a lot of great brand new stuff. And the worst thing would be broken in, Christmas Eve, all the presents gone. That would be a nightmare. And people travel, right? There's lots of good stuff under the tree, expensive gifts. The thing to remember is only 1 in 5 homes have home security. So there's The burglars, they just go, not that one, but there's the 4 over here we can... One of the reasons people don't have home security is it's complicated. You got to have an installer, the contracts, the fees. Not Simply Safe. It is my choice for home security. I tell everybody it is a great, comprehensive, professional home security system without any of the gotchas. A very fair price. You can install it yourself. You can move with it easily, so renters love it. Peel and stick, all the sensors, and they got them all. They even have sensors for water breaks, put underneath your hot water. They have motion sensors for the hall. They've got cameras. They have everything you want, a base unit that cannot be destroyed, and 24/7 professional monitoring, the same quality as the other guys for about a third the price. Right now, huge discount and a free security camera if you go to simplysafe.com/twit. SIMPLISAFE, I instead of Y. Simplysafe.com/twit. Big discount. And you get a free HD security camera. You install it yourself. No installer traipsing through the house. No muddy shoes. Actually, it also saves you time because you have to make an appointment. You get it. You'll get it in a day or two. You put it up an hour later. No drilling, nothing. You just boop, 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 boop. And now you're safe. With 24/7 professional monitoring and a lot less. It's a very fair price. $15 a month, no contract, no hidden fees, no fine print. And because they do real-time video confirmation, police respond up to 3 times faster with Simply Safe because they know it's not a false alarm. When you go to the website, read up about that. I think that's brilliant. Really brilliant. Simplysafe.com/twit. Limited time offer. It's ending soon. Just for the holidays. Get great savings and a free HD security camera. Boy, that's the best deal I've ever seen. They're really going all out here. Simplysafe.com/twit. It's home security done right. It's the only one I recommend. Simplysafe.com/twit. Uh-oh. I sense a Christmas song. Man, how did I know? There's something they do in songs intended for the holiday season. Even if it's not a recognizable, Christmas carol. Is it the tambourines or something? You just hear it and you go, that's a holiday song. I can tell. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yes, I can help you shop for your geek if you need it. I'll be glad to do that too. I like spending people's money. Tom's on the line from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hi, Tom.
Hi there, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome.
Well, have been listening to you for decades.
Thank you.
Anywho, I have a desktop iMac and a Mac Pro laptop. They both have old operating system called Sierra.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to update to either High Sierra, Mojave, or Catalina.
Yes.
What's the pros or cons of each, and what would you do?
Here is the issue, the big issue. For everybody, the latest version, the current version is Catalina. And you're already in the California Landmarks series. You're out of the big cats and into the California Landmarks. So that means you have a fairly up-to-date Mac. Some Macs will be limited. They will stop at Snow Leopard. Some Macs will stop at High Sierra, so you may not be able to get past High Sierra. You may not want, and this is your question, of course, and it's a good one, you may not want to go to the latest Catalina even if you can, and here's why. Starting with macOS 10 Catalina, Apple has eliminated the ability to run 32-bit apps. So the big gotcha with the latest version of macOS is you may have applications that will not run. And that may be a big deal for you if there's apps you really need. So you want to, before you go to I would recommend going to Catalina. You always, in general, for security reasons alone, but performance as well as features, you almost always want to use the latest version of any operating system. But with Catalina, there is this one caveat. I'm pretty sure Apple has, let me see if I can find it, a compatibility checker that will check 32-bit apps and tell you which apps aren't going to work on Catalina. So let me see. You can check manually if you go to System Information. If you click the Applications tab, you can actually see if an application is 32-bit. I wish they must. I don't see, though. I'm looking at the famous internet. I'm looking to see if there's. You'd think Apple would have a compatibility checker. Maybe they do. Scooter X has given me a link to a support note. So that's the only issue. If you have a program, and it'll be an older program because Apple's been telling people about this forever. So any program that isn't updated to 32-bit is either abandoned by the developer or they just decided, well, it's too much work or whatever. But you should find out. So I guess, yeah, even Apple says you have to look at System Information. Okay. And you can, in the system report, you can select legacy software. Legacy software means it's 32-bit. So if you have legacy software, just be aware that will not run.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would. Catalina is great. There are a number of people say, oh, it's buggy. Apple has, with the most recent releases of both its macOS and iOS operating systems, taken a lot of heat for their support for the flaws in their software, and there have been a number of flaws. But Catalina has been out long enough now, as has iOS, that they've fixed, I think, any major flaws. They're never going to fix this 32-bit thing. This is the way it's going to be going forward.
Oh, okay.
All right, but I would do it. How old are these machines?
The laptop's about 3 years.
Oh yeah, that'll do.
iMac is about 2 years.
Oh yeah. Both of them will run better on Catalina.
Great.
Just not those 32-bit apps. And it's, there's something that goes on. People should be aware of. Windows is on 1.5 billion machines. I don't know how many machines Windows 7 is on or Windows 10, but it's hundreds of millions. Apple, not quite so many, but still many, 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 many millions, probably 100 million machines on macOS. And for most of us, 99.99%, these upgrades are fine. They're flawless. iOS 13, okay, I'll grant you that had some universal problems. But the problem is if you're looking on the forums or you're looking Reddit or you watch the tech columns, you're even if 0.001% of 100 million people have problems, that's thousands of people who are going to go, this screwed me up. This broke my machine. It didn't work. I hate Catalina. So you're going to see those. If you saw a dozen messages from people saying, oh, whatever you do, don't upgrade to Windows 10. It broke my machine. You might quite reasonably think, oh, Windows 10 breaks people's machines. It's just a matter of numbers. It doesn't. It works for 99.99%, and chances are very, very good it'll work for you. You got to be careful. You got to consider that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Johnny Jack coming up. We had I missed it. I wish I'd gone last night. The Johnny Cash tribute band, Johnny and June Forever, was in town with the Illegals, an Eagles tribute band. I wish everybody I know was there. Sold out show.
Name.
Isn't it?
Illegal.
The Illegals. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. JJ Johnny Jet. He's a traveling guy, feeling better. He's settled down. He's at home. Do you put pins in? I see you have a world map behind you. I'm looking at him on Skype.
This one I do not, but I do have another map in the other room that has pins in it. It's smaller.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know what I do? There's a company called the Traveler Collective. I've told you about this before. They sell little rings, little tiny rings.
You did.
They look like washers that have the country that you visited and the date you visited it on. Right. And I feel like Ebenezer Scrooge, weaving the chains but I have all of the rings from all of the countries I've visited, and it's a pretty good feeling actually when you look at it. It's getting heavy.
Wow. Did you just buy new ones from your Middle East
trip? I did.
Trip?
And they've just added at the Travelers Collective, they've just added a continent rings, gold continent rings. So I've organized it by continent. TravelerCollective.com. I just like the idea of having.
And how many continents have you been to? 6?
6 out of 7. I'm still waiting for Antarctica.
Me too, but you know what?
Let's go together, Johnny.
Desire right now.
I really want to go.
I just don't feel like doing that crossing.
Exactly. The Drake Passage.
Yep.
Which is notoriously rough. And if, you're tempted to go to Antarctica, just go to YouTube and search Drake's Passage, and you'll get some fine video of the beautiful weather.
I've had some friends who've actually had it really calm.
About a third of the time it's calm. I asked. About a third of the time it's unbearably rough, and about a third of the time it's just kind of a little rough. So you take your chances.
They're not that bad, the odds. I've had a friend that did it in a 34-foot sailboat. I'm like, you're nuts. I have no desire to do that.
This sounds nutty, but I thought, well, I'll just take a sleeping pill and I'll sleep through it.
Yeah,
why not?
I don't
right?
know. It's 2 days. I think it's 2 days.
Well, no, and I asked about that too.
36 hours?
It depends. If it's rough, it's 2 days. Sometimes you can get across it in 8 hours. It just depends on how.
8 hours?
Well, whatever. I asked at the cruise line because I want to do this, and the guy's been many times. He says, we allow a lot about a day and a half because it could take that long, but that's if it's foul weather. It's much faster if it's not.
Okay, that's good to know.
It really should be. It's actually the worst possible because it's quick if it's easy. It's prolonged if it's uncomfortable. I think I'm just going to take a 36-hour sleeping pill.
And there are flights you can do, too.
Yeah, I tried that once. The flight was canceled from Oshaya. No, from Oshaya. And Steve Wozniak and I, we were on a cruise. We booked this passage. They said, we'll fly you to Antarctica. You get out, you take some pictures of penguins, we'll fly you home. We get to the airport. The pilot comes out. He's got a map. He's got props. He says, no, that's too rough. The weather's too rough. So I pulled him aside. I said, how often is it too rough? Have you ever made this trip? He said, no, we've never made it. We sell it. We've never yet been there.
Joking. Are you kidding me?
I said, well, good to know.
Did you get your money back?
Well, of course, but it seems like it's theater.
I would never want to do it with someone who's never done it before.
Well, no, he's done it before, but he's just saying the weather's never good enough. Okay. It's Antarctica.
Yeah.
He said we get canceled every time.
I don't have a desire to go.
Yeah. No, I want to go. We're going. You and I, we're going to meet the penguins. Come on, buddy.
I'll have to bring my son.
Yes, I'll bring my son.
He was just down in my room looking at this map.
Bring your dad. Father, son trip to Antarctica. You, me, Grandpa, the kids. It'll be great.
Yeah, good. Let's do it.
Now, Johnny joins us every week to help us travel better, not worse. And you've got an app and you've got a website. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so I have an app. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago. I was checking out the new Courtyard by Marriott in Hamburg, and I was on a press trip. They flew in a bunch of journalists, full disclosure, and we're having dinner. And as all journalists do, when the food comes, no one touches the food until everyone takes a photo.
Oh.
And I used to do this 20 years ago, and people used to laugh at me. They're like, why are you taking a picture of your food?
Right,
of your food.
Yeah.
I'm like, just because I like to share it and show people what it's like.
That's why God made Twitter, baby. That's the whole point.
And, I just got a new phone this week, but a couple weeks ago, I had the iPhone 10.
Yeah.
And, the photos weren't great. I was looking at my colleague, and I'm like, man, that photo's so much better, the food, than mine. I go, how'd you do it? And she goes, I use the app Foodie app.
Foodie,
Foodie. It's a yellow app. So when you go into it's either Android or iOS. And when you go into the store, it's a yellow box, a little black writing, and it's free. And so I downloaded it right away, and you know what? I did really love it. There's some things I don't like about it, like if there was like red lights in the room, or it doesn't work really well. But if it's just a dark regular room,
so it's basically it's kind of like Instagram. It's got filters, but it's got food-oriented filters. They've got crispy, chewy, barbecue, sweet, picnic,
exactly,
yum.
Yeah, I've only used the default filter, and that works great. I mean, I wrote a post. I'll tweet it out and I'll put it in the chat room, and you can see the comparison of it. I took the picture with my phone straight up, and then I took it with using the app, and you can see the difference. It really does brighten it all up, and so it's a great way to get better photos when you travel, especially if you like taking pictures of your food, which I know, a lot of people do. And I also know a lot of chefs that really frown upon it.
Really? Chefs don't like it? They're crazy if they don't like it. You are sharing what a great job they did. It's like when I go to a museum and they say, no picture, no Instagram, don't Instagram the museum. Dudes, it's the best publicity ever. People spend money to get their ads on Instagram, and I'm giving you one for free.
I agree. I heard some chefs don't even let cameras in their restaurants.
Oh, chefs are just cranky.
Because some people will stand up on their chair. I can understand that.
Don't disrupt the restaurant environment.
Exactly.
But you can
a lot
discreetly...
of sushi restaurants don't like it either because they say you need to eat it within a few seconds of them serving it.
I don't have that problem. I eat it right away. Give me that sushi.
I'm not a sushi guy.
Give me that raw fish.
I can understand a little bit where they're coming from on that kind of sense, and you don't want to ever disrupt someone's dining. And don't use a flash; it never comes out well anyway. And also, you'll just disrupt other diners.
That's true. Actually, now I'm starting to agree with the chefs. You're right.
So I can see on that point. But I mean, if you're discreet and quickly, and you're not using a flash, there should be no problem, and they should be happy. You're publicizing their food. It's
just one more reason I'm not on Instagram.
Exactly. Do we have time for a website?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Half a minute.
This one's from the United States Postal Service, believe it or not. It's called Operation Santa, and they have a website dedicated for anyone who wants to adopt a low-income kid. So you go onto their website, and you can see all the letters that people have written, and you can choose which one. Once you choose it, they take it out of the system, so you always have to follow through. But you have to sign up first, get verified, because they don't just accept anyone. You need to make sure that
you can be Santa.
And it's anonymous, so you're not going to get any kind of
You don't have to write. You don't have to give them a gift. You just write the letter back.
No, you send them a gift.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
I didn't give you time for the disclaimer. Santa not included.
December 21st. It needs to be sent by.
They tell you all of it on the page, so I think we don't have to.
They do.
We don't have to explain it because they'll, Wow. That's a good idea, though. I love it. Operation Santa.
Yeah. Actually, I'll put it in the chat room right now and on my Twitter.
Yeah, it's USPS OperationSanta.com. USPS OperationSanta.com. Oh, so you have to respond to the letter. Do you write a letter? Or you just buy a gift?
No, it comes from Santa. You're reading the letters. You don't respond to the letter.
Oh, I get it. I thought this was like a pen pal thing. I get it.
No.
So do you get to read the letter ahead of time? Can I
Yeah, you can right now. There they are. You can scroll down.
Duncan wants Lego T-Rex skeleton, Lego Godzilla, Crazy Craft shaft. I don't know what that is. Grabber. Oh, he likes Lego. I'm going to do this. I like this. I want to give Duncan some Lego. He also wants pie or something. Oh, please, Santa. He's saying please, not pie. Please, Santa. Please.
I don't know how the pie's going to ship.
He wants
but
Sonic at Choin figure. He wants a Sonic figure. I'll ask my kid. He'll know what all this stuff is.
Well, you can scroll through all the way. You choose which one you want or how many you want, but you got to follow through because
don't pick it unless you send it.
They take it out of the system, and it's and you got to send it by the 21st, otherwise it won't get there in time. And it's from Santa. It's anonymous, so they will never contact you. And
anyway. You do it because it makes you feel good. Oh, what a nice one! I'm gonna mention that again. That's nice.
Okay, good. I just tweeted it. I put it in the chat room, there you can find some information.
Oh, that is so sweet. Let's get everybody doing that. Thank you for promoting that. That's great.
Good.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Hey, I want to mention again, because I just was reading through some of these letters to Santa. Oh, my goodness, on the U.S. Postal Service's Operation Santa site. And we'll put this in the show notes, and I want to mention it again. USPS OperationSanta.com. And you can read the letters, even if you're not going to do it. But I warn you, if you read the letter, you will do it. These are letters from kids from underprivileged families that the Postal Service has collected. Kids who are writing to Santa. They're saying, "Dear Santa, this is what I would like for Christmas." I misunderstood. I thought you write a letter back. No, you buy a gift from that list, and you give it to the Postal Service, and they bring it to the kid. It's anonymous. They don't know you who sent it to them. They think they got it from Santa. And you don't get to know who that kid is, so you just do it out of the goodness of your heart. And man, if you read these letters, you will be doing it. You have till December 21st, so don't delay. What a great idea. This is USPS OperationSanta.com. Wow. I'm a little teary from reading those letters. John, Connecticut. Hello, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Are you there, John? Did I push the buttons? Did I turn the... Yes,
Hello.
I did. Hi, John.
How you doing, Leo?
I am great. How are you?
Pretty good. Here's my situation. I'm pretty familiar with cloning Mac drives and swapping them out, etc. But I have an older Windows computer that, gosh darn, got to get Windows 10 on there in January, and I want to swap out the drive first. Wondering if you could recommend a utility that would allow me to do what I could do on a Mac.
What do you use to do it on the Mac, just out of curiosity?
What's that?
What do you use on the Mac, just out of curiosity?
Super Duper or Carbon Copy Cloner.
That's both of them fantastic programs. I was going to say it anyway because there are people listening who have Macs. Super Duper or Carbon Copy Cloner will let you make a bootable identical drive to your internal drive on an external drive. That's good to have anyway. I do that all the time because if the internal drive dies and you want to keep working, especially on an iMac, this is a great way to keep working until you've got time to bring it in and get it fixed.
Yeah, you might even want to make one with your current operating system.
I keep mine up to. I do. I keep it up to date all the time. I'm always updating. Super Duper let you do that, and that's very handy. Yeah.
I keep one on my previous operating system if I'm going to switch, say, to 64-bit, and I still have the 32-bit I want to run.
Very smart. This is a special kind of backup. Because normally you don't want to back up the entire drive. You just want to back up your documents, stuff you've saved. But this is an image backup which basically lets you go back to a point in time completely. Just, and it's fast. We used to do this at Tech TV because we were live. And if the computer, the hard drive died in the middle of a show, we wanted to be able to get back up and running. So I spec'd every computer we had on the TV with two drives, one the original, but one that was a up-to-date image copy of the original, so that even if something died, we go to a commercial break, come back, we're back running. That's how fast you can blast the operating system on. On the PC, what this is called, by the way, is disk imaging. Sometimes they call it ghosting because the first program that did this, Norton Ghost, was very popular. Everybody used Norton Ghost, and so it still has that name, ghosting, but I think Norton Ghost has bit the ghost, but I believe there are many, many, many imaging programs for Windows. For free, you might want to look at Ease US. They have EASE, like easy, but no Y, EASEUS.com. They have a complete imaging program for free. I use a program called Drive Snapshot. That is nice because it runs even while Windows is running. It's from Germany, drivesnapshot.de. And my friend Steve Gibson, who originally recommended Drive Snapshot to me, he's moved to a program called, it's such a generic name, I always forget it. It's from Terabyte Unlimited. I always can remember that, terabyteunlimited.com. Oh, it's called Image for Windows. What a memorable name. And that one, neither Drive Snapshot nor Image for Windows are free, but they work very well and they're not expensive. So I guess actually I would recommend the Terabyte Unlimited one. TerabyteUnlimited.com. Technically, Windows has this built in. You have to use the legacy backup tool to make a, but I prefer just to use one of these third-party tools. EasyOS.
Will it allow me to get the benefit of a larger drive, or will it maintain the same partition size?
No, all of them will resize. So.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Now, I should point out that, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Remember that January 14th is the last update for Windows 7. After that, you're on your own. Microsoft says, we're not going to support it with phone calls. We're not going to do software updates. You're on your own. That means it's potentially insecure after January 14th, 2020. You probably want to go to Windows 10. Nominally, you have to pay $139 to do that. Turns out, Microsoft never turned off that free upgrade plan. They used to, for the first year of Windows 10, they said, if you have Windows 7, you can upgrade for free. And it turns out they've never turned that off. So I've been told again and again, I was skeptical, but people have you can either just install Windows 10 on top of your Windows 7, or if you have a product key for Windows 7, you can use that, and it will activate. Windows 10 will activate. And once it activates, if you want to blast the drive away and install it clean, you can. Because once a machine is activated, there are no serial numbers for Windows 10. Once a machine's activated, Microsoft knows this machine's entitled to Windows 10, and they'll give it to you and activate it each time. So I can't promise this, and I still recommend you go to TerabyteUnlimited.com, download Image for Windows, and make a copy just because that's the prudent thing to do. But everybody I know has tried this. I'm hearing from many, many listeners that say, you know, Leo, it activated. I didn't have to pay for it. So just install.
That's good to hear.
Isn't that a great tip? And I think the reason Microsoft, they're not going to publicize it because they want the $139. But I think the reason Microsoft's doing this is even more important than the revenue is getting everybody on Windows 10.
You got time for one quick question?
Sure.
I just learned about a GitHub extension which will allow you to bypass paywalls for Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and all like that.
I'm going to stop you right there, only because these things exist, and you probably, if you're listening, heard enough to figure it out how to do it, but you're getting around, I'm not going to say it's illegal, but it's unethical. You're getting around a paywall that these publications have put up. Their goal is, you know, if you want to read our content, in most cases, at least with a journal for sure, they give you free content, but you have to pay if you want the full article or you want more. And I'm not going to tell people how to bypass that because I don't want them. If we had a paywall, I wouldn't want them bypassing my paywall. It's, by the way, why we don't do that, why the show is free, why the website is free, and we don't charge people. We have advertisers, and I prefer to do it that way. But many newspapers have decided, the only way we're going to survive is having a paywall, and it's not up to me or anybody else to bypass that. So I'm sorry, but I'll stop you right there. And you've probably said enough that somebody who wants to figure it out can figure it out. I'm just, I pay for the Wall Street Journal. I pay for a lot of paywalled stuff, Wired, Bloomberg. I don't want to give Bloomberg money. They got plenty of money. And it's an expensive subscription, but I use it all the time for the show. And yeah, I know I could bypass it, but I'm not gonna. Hey, I do want to tell you about my favorite browser, though. You've heard me talk about it. I've talked about it for a long time. Brave. You use Brave? So many people use Chrome, and I love Chrome. Lately, though, Google's kind of taken some odd positions. For instance, they broke my ad blocking extension. They changed the way Chrome works, and uBlock Origin stopped working, and it made me mad. Fortunately, I've been using Brave. Brave is based on Chrome. It's actually based on the open source Chromium project that is what Google uses to make Chrome. So it's as up-to-date as Chrome. It works as well as Chrome, but they've taken out all the googly stuff. It's the browser reimagined. It's a next-generation browser built by a team that's focused on privacy. And, by the way, performance. That's kind of a side effect. So Brave does responsible ad blocking, does a really great job of that. I don't need uBlock Origin anymore. It also does great tracking protection. Lets you turn off all the trackers from Facebook and Twitter and Google and LinkedIn, all those embedded things, turn them off. And by side effect, when you don't load those ads and you don't load all that extra JavaScript and all that other junk, your browser's faster, performing up to 6 times faster than the competitors. Lighter weight, faster, unmatched speed, online privacy, tracker blocking. It's a better user experience. It even goes the next step on privacy with its incognito tab. When you use the private tab to create a private browsing session, Google knows all the stuff you're doing in there, by the way. That's not what incognito or private means. It just means we won't save cookies. Brave really is private. They launch, you don't have to, but you launch a Tor browser, a Tor tab. So it really is completely anonymous. You can check it. What's my IP address? No one knows. It's fantastic. What else is good? Oh, I love the best way, by the way. Brave's free. You can download it. You can have multiple browsers. It's easy to try. It'll one click and all of your bookmarks will import. Brave.com/twit. You do me a favor if you use that URL. We get credit for it. I know you're smart enough. You could just go to brave.com or Google Brave and you'd go right there. But please use brave.com/twit so they know you saw it here. The other thing I really like, and I said responsible ad blocking. You have complete control of this, so you don't have to see any ads if you don't want to. But Brave has, I think, a really cool way of paying websites back. So it's called Brave BAT, or Basic Attention Tokens. If you opt into Brave's privacy-respecting ads, and by the way, they're just basically the notifications. They don't take over the web page. They don't even go on the web page. They're very minor. But if you opt into that, you'll start earning BAT by looking at those ads. Again, privacy-respecting ads. And then you can pass along, or you can buy Brave BAT tokens if you want. You can actually buy them with cash. But then you can parcel them out to sites that you like. You can say, hey, I know that, I'm not seeing your ads, so here's a way to pay you back. It's a really great way to improve privacy, plus give publishers back their fair share of web revenue. And as a ad-supported network, I really think that's a great solution. You don't have to use that feature. In fact, Brave is so customizable, you don't have to use any feature. You can turn on or off all the features. Brave was created by Brendan Eich, who invented JavaScript, was the CEO of Firefox, and Brian Bondi. I can go on and on. We interviewed Bcrypt, who's their security person. She was on our Triangulation show a couple of months ago. I'd already been using Brave long before that. That's why, in fact, I wanted to talk to her. And she'll give you some idea of how much attention. Brave 1, they put into this. Brave 1.0 just came out. Fantastic. It's so easy to do. You'll save, not only will you save speed, you'll save battery life. You reduce your data costs. If you've got bandwidth caps, and by the way, it works Windows, Mac, Linux. I use it on Linux. They have a PPA. I download it. It's installed, updates automatically. I use it on Android and iOS too, and it will improve your battery life on mobile devices. Brave.com/twit. Yesterday was about big tech. Today is about us. Brave.com/twit. Try it out today. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We're going to talk smartphones. We talk smartwatches. Holiday gift giving for the geek in your life. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. 8888 Ask Leo. Give me a ring. Let's talk high tech. Timmy in Oak Hills, California. Hello, Timmy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks as always. Boy, listening to you for the last hour and a half, I have so many things to comment on, from imaging to SSD and everything else. But I'll be selfish and ask my question if that's okay.
Please do. And, we got enough time. You can comment on a few things, too. It's fine.
I'd love to, but you're always so helpful. I'd like to give back a little bit. Here's where I'm at without giving too much details. I have a laptop that I use for my recording studio. It's a Windows 7 machine with AMD and NVIDIA. It was upgraded from a Vista machine. Still works great. I got the ultimate 64-bit, so it is already 64-bit. All that seems to work great with the hardware. And you're always talking about Linux, and I want to take that jump. What would be I looked a little bit and they say something about NVIDIA or AMD's, what would be your best Linux recommendation? And can I put that where I can dual boot the hard drive, or can I also put it on a separate hard drive?
You bet.
Swap them out.
You bet. As you probably gathered, I'm a big fan of Linux. It's a free operating system. It's what we call open source, which means it was originally created in the 90s, early 90s by a Finnish graduate student named Linus Torvalds, hence the name Linux. It's Linus's version, technically, of Minix, which was a version of Unix. It's a Unix-like operating system. And I think it's really, really good. It's been worked on by thousands of volunteers in the intervening, 27 years, and has become, I think, a very polished product. People mock it all the time, but it's free, and I think it's a better choice for many people if you're a little bit geeky, and I think you are. You're already using Linux if you use Android. Android is based on Linux. And if you use a Chromebook, Chrome OS is based on Linux. And Microsoft has even started putting Linux in Windows. They have their own version of the Linux kernel, which is coming out now in Microsoft Windows. So I think it's time to say now Linux is no longer for a neckbeard, a sysadmin, a geek. It's getting to the mainstream. My favorite version, so here's a couple of the issues that you're going to run up against. There are Linux purists, open source purists, free software purists, who don't want to include proprietary software of any kind in Linux. Linux is the opposite of proprietary. It's an open system. No company owns it. And the problem is if you want to run an NVIDIA graphics processor, you need proprietary NVIDIA drivers for it.
Right.
Now, they're available. In fact, NVIDIA makes them. They're available, but they're proprietary. They're not open source. And so if you get a Linux distribution like Debian, which is, by the way, I think probably the best example of how great Linux is, 45,000 applications, standalone applications that run on this version of Linux, maintained completely by volunteers. There's no company giving money to Debian. It is amazing. But Debian will not come with drivers for proprietary stuff like NVIDIA graphics cards. However, doesn't mean they don't exist, and if you're sophisticated, you can easily install them. The nice thing is Debian has been built upon by a commercial company called Canonical. They made something you probably heard of called Ubuntu, which for many years was the most popular, probably still is the most popular version of Linux. Right. I actually recommend a one step beyond that, which is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian, called Pop OS. It comes from a company called System 76. They make Linux laptops and desktops, and they've invested a considerable amount of money in making Linux run a little bit more smoothly, install a lot more smoothly, and their version of Linux, they're not the dogmatic open source advocates that the Debian team is. Their version of Linux comes with NVIDIA drivers. It'll come from pretty much a driver for any PC. If you can run Windows, you should be able to run Pop OS without any problem.
Okay, and I could do that either with OneDrive, where I could choose to boot to Windows 7 and or Linux, or I could also just put Linux completely on its own drive.
It's a little more complicated. When people get in trouble with Linux, it's usually this dual booting thing because it's possible to clobber Windows, and your Windows won't be gone, but it just won't be visible. It is a lot better to put it on a second drive because then you could just...
I would do that then, and it would be permanently on the drive, right? I wouldn't have to boot from a thumb drive or anything.
No, you install it. Well, the first thing you do is and any Linux this is true, you'll download a bootable version that you could put on a thumb drive and just see if it works. So you boot to it. It's slow because it's running on a thumb drive, but you can see if all your hardware works, everything you want to work. And since you're doing music production, another caveat about Linux is I think it's gotten better, but for a long time there were issues of latency in live music production with Linux. So
it's a great point. What I would probably do is keep my Windows 7 for the music, but keep it off the internet, and then switch over to my Drive Linux when I want to do my internet stuff.
Perfect.
It's kind of where I was going.
Perfect. And Linux, I think, is more secure for two reasons. One, it's far less used than Windows and even Mac. So it's less of a target for hackers. Also, because it's community developed, the community works really hard to keep it up to date and secure. There's no delay in fixes. And you'll find with Pop OS, there's updates for individual software pieces pretty much every day. There's update for the operating system, often more than once a month. I don't find that a problem. but it is something to be aware of. There's lots of it's regular updates. I think that's a good thing. It makes it more secure.
Okay, real quick, a couple comments if I have time.
Yeah, you got a minute or two? Sure.
Sure, I'll be first off, going back to the 32-bit versus 64-bit, I love the Windows 7 Ultimate, which I have, which is 64-bit. But what I do love is the fact that it lets me run my old 32-bit XP programs when I go to the XP mode. So that's kind of the reason I want to hang on to it for the studio. So there's one thing, which the reason I'm hanging on for Windows 7 is just those few little XP programs.
I am curious, really cool. And maybe somebody in the chat room can tell me, because of course, they got rid of XP compatibility mode when they went to Windows 10, but my guess is it still runs those programs just fine. That it's just internalized.
Yeah, there's some programs that just will not run on Windows 7 that will run XP.
Okay.
And
yeah, mostly that's programs that say if the operating system is earlier than XP, don't run, and they don't understand that 7 is later. You know,
right.
And that's the compatibility mode is literally that dumb. It just says, no, I'm XP. It's not really running XP code. It's just telling the program, no, I'm not Windows 7, honest. So,
right. And so that works for me. Lastly, when you're talking about SSD drives and, fragmenting and wiping out this data and making sure all the storage is used, what I do, I run CloneZilla every month, and I clone my SSD drive to another identical SSD drive just for backup and safety in case something, I get a bug or anything else. But every time I do that, it seems to be faster. And I'm wondering if that's part of that thing where it's actually cleaning out the SSD drive as I'm cloning it. That's not a bad thing to do.
That's another issue with SSDs, and it comes back to that wear leveling I was talking about.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And it's something called trim. Now, it used to be an issue that an SSD would slow down appreciably over time. Nowadays, the firmware on SSDs will support trim, which it's a garbage collection, which cleans it up and gets it back to full speed. You're probably invoking the trim. You're doing the garbage collection. Another way to do it in Windows is to run your disk defragmenter. It's nonsense to say defragment an SSD. That doesn't make any sense. The fragmentation is meaningless because there's no seek time on an SSD.
Right.
But Windows is smart enough when it sees the defragger to run its trim routines and clean up the drive. So that's another way to do it. But I suspect when you clone it and restore it, you're probably trimming it. Or you're in effect getting back to the pre-trim, the pre-trimmed state, the pre-garbage collected state. So I think yes, that makes sense. It should speed up your drive. That's a good thing.
Thanks as always. God bless, Leo.
My
Have
pleasure.
a wonderful Christmas.
Enjoy Linux. I think call back when you do it and let me know. It is an adventure. I'm not going to promise you won't have trouble. I have a hard time recommending Linux unless you're enough of a computer enthusiast that you're willing to navigate those waters. This isn't working, and you can Google it and search for it and figure it out, and maybe even hand edit a configuration file, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, we're still a little bit in that world. It's been my experience. You can install Pop! OS on almost any PC that can run Windows without trouble. Every once in a while, especially in music production, you're going to come up against something. We had a weird problem. It took me a long time to solve, which was the bit rate that Linux was choosing in its sound drivers. It was 48,000 bits per second, 48K, and the sample rate, and the device we were connected to expected 44.1 or something else. And it took me the longest time to figure out why is it not working. I had to hand configure a sound driver, edit a text file, the ALSA file, I think it was, and it worked. It's that kind of thing that can drive you nuts. And if you're not kind of a little geeky, maybe stay away from it. I hate to say that because it's so good in every other respect. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Lady Laura laughs. Every time she plays James Brown, you just see a big smile on my face. Thank you, Lady Laura. Our musical director, 8888 Ask Leo. On line 3, it's George in Webster, New York. Hello, George.
Hi, Leo. Nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you, sir.
Can you hear me well?
I hear you beautifully.
Listen, I am delighted both to talk to you and actually desperate to get your help.
Oh.
Because I've been using Chromebooks for the past 5 years, ever since I heard you mention or their advantages, and realizing that I don't need really anything more than what a Chromebook can accomplish. And after a short learning curve, I've become a master at using it, at least within my needs.
Nice.
And then a couple of months ago, something weird happened. I do some editing of scientific papers, so I use Google Docs a lot.
Good. And it works well for your scientific papers with the specialized notation and stuff? That's good to know. That's great.
Absolutely. And also, not only that, the drawing program of Google, I use it to do the illustrations and all that, and everything works fine.
That's awesome.
Now, the weird thing that happened is that all of a sudden my keyboard switches from the Latin characters to Arabic or Persian.
Do you use those languages? Any other?
Not on my Chromebook, never. But I use Arabic on my Android phone.
Ah, so it is a Google device, so Google must have noted that and conveniently decided to switch your settings on the Chromebook. Wow, that's wild. It's a good thing you understand it, because honestly, if it switched to Arabic on my system, I wouldn't know what to do. Everything goes right to left, then suddenly.
But I'd be typing an English word.
Yeah.
And it comes with random Arabic characters. So
that's not good.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
So anyway, the way to get around that is for me to do a power wash and start over.
Yes.
And it comes back again within a week or two.
And by the way, that's why I recommend the Chromebook, is because when people get in trouble, that power wash basically restores everything to the way it was originally. But then you log into your Google account and all your stuff is still there because you've been saving on Google Drive.
Right.
So,
that's a big advantage. But
now, have you gone into the? I'm just asking wondering if. So the power wash would have been the first thing I'd recommend, and that cleans it all out to factory state.
Okay.
Have you gone into your settings and looked at your keyboard language? Because even on a Chromebook, there are settings, and you can set the language. And in the languages and input section, you can manage your input. And probably what happened, because you've used Arabic or Persian on your Android phone, it got added to your Google account, which is appropriate, but you don't want it on the Chromebook. You can remove those languages. You can uncheck those boxes in the keyboard setting. So it's setting, I can't really walk you through it, but I'll just give you the litany. It's settings, it's in the advanced settings, it's under language.
Oh, advanced setting, okay.
Advanced settings, language. In the languages and input section, you'll see you can select input methods. And this is, unfortunately, what Google calls languages, is input methods. So, that's...
Yeah.
And next to it, you'll see the languages that are enabled. I'm sure it added Persian and Arabic because you had used them on Android, but you can uncheck them. You don't need to delete them, just uncheck them.
The only ones that I have here are English, U.S., English, U.K., Spanish, French, Italian.
Do you speak all those languages?
Not all of them, but...
Boy, I'm impressed.
Italian and English and Arabic.
Wow.
Yeah, I do that.
Every time I travel, I'm so humbled, because here in the United States, we're lucky if we speak English. And you go to almost any country in the world, and they speak better English than I do, and every other language, too. It's just remarkable. Arabic is a tough language.
It was nice to hear that you've been to Petra and the pyramids in Cairo.
Where are you from? Where are you from originally, George?
Originally, I'm from North Africa, from Benghazi, Libya.
Ah, interesting. Interesting.
I immigrated here almost 50 years ago.
Yeah, that was my experience. I've been to Morocco, and in Morocco as well, Arabic, French, English.
Right.
It's very common, and it's humbling too.
So I don't see Arabic.
All right, so I'm not sure where the Arabic's coming from. Then you might also check your spell checker. That's also in language and inputs. Maybe it's spell checking you and saying, "Oh, that's not how you spell it." It's clearly, I don't see it because I've never used Arabic or Farsi at any time on my Android device. And I would guess that's why Google keeps putting that on your Chromebook. That's a little frustrating. You should be able to disable that. Next time it happens, check and see if it's there. Sorry, I had a break there, George, but I'm still here.
Okay.
So it takes a while after you power wash to come back, huh?
Yeah, well, the only issue with power wash is that all of the cookies and the...
Right, you have to start over, yeah.
And start over, and it's annoying.
No, I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to do it, especially since you've already tried it and it comes back. The other thing maybe is to look at your settings. Do you regularly use Farsi or Arabic on your phone?
Yes.
So you really don't want to disable it on Android because you need it.
Right.
I wonder, this is a really interesting question. I would say it's almost certainly the case that the Android is. Do you have Android apps installed in your Chromebook?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's happening.
So I want to somehow get rid of it now.
Maybe next time you power wash, don't install any of those, or you can figure out which ones are Android apps and don't uninstall those. Somehow that information is clearly getting from the phone to your Chromebook.
Yeah, so that's a bummer, I tell you. And I also had how the phone gets connected to the Chromebook.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I disabled that.
Yeah, because you thought that might be how it's doing. Yeah. It might be that. It actually might be that you have Android apps. Those, of course, know about what you do on Android. So
after the first incident, I found out that I had this keyboard app, Android keyboard app, installed also on my Chromebook.
Do not do that.
No, I had it, and then I, uninstalled it.
Yeah. Next time it happens, see if you can uncheck that language. If it's typing in Arabic, then it will have that checked. I'm almost certain in that language, that input method setting.
Leo, just one curious thing that puzzles me. When it happened this time, I did not power wash. I logged off and turned the computer completely off, then restarted. And then I logged in, and I was able to key in my password and get in, which means that the keyboard was keying in my password, which is in Latin letters.
Right.
So I don't know how that happened.
Now this is, I bet, what's happening. Somehow it's learning about other languages you use. I mean, you're not getting Cyrillic in there, so it's clearly related to your Android use. There is, I'm almost certain, I don't know off the top of my head what it is, a keystroke to change keyboards. Somebody in the chat room says it's Control Space or Control Shift Space to shift through the languages. It could be that you're accidentally, as you're typing, hitting Control Space, changing the language.
It's possible. You know what sometimes happens is I'm copying and pasting something, and Control C, Control V. Maybe
you're accidentally hitting that.
I have an update, a breaking news, as they say in CNN. I just started typing in the search, and now I'm back into Latin characters. I'm completely...
You got me, George. You came up with one no one knows. That's a good one. Hey, I have to run, George. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. Are you a physicist?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to tell you something. I'm going to send you a tweet so that you can read what I tweeted yesterday about my Shintrex, the shingles.
Oh, please do.
Vaccination.
Please do.
You will find it interesting.
Thank you, George. I got to run. It's great to talk to you. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. We've been having fun. I continue to talk to George, trying to figure out where are these stray Arabic and Farsi characters coming from. Somebody suggested you look in your language settings in your Google account on the web. But we don't want to turn off those languages because he uses them on his phone. He just doesn't want them on the Chromebook when he's typing in a Roman character set. There is, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know off the top of my head, somebody said it's Control Space or Control Shift Space, a way to shift through keyboards on a Chromebook through the different input methods. That would be how you would quickly, for instance, get to the emoji keyboard, or if you had a Cyrillic keyboard or an Arabic keyboard, you could shift Control Space, I guess, to shift into another one. Maybe that he's accidentally hitting those and shifting. 8888 Ask Leo. I love the conundrums, the weird, mysterious ghost in the machine problems. But don't call me with those, please. Carl, I just can't help you. Carl in Los Angeles. Here's another weird Chromebook message. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Leo. Big fan. Usually listen to you via podcast, but I have a problem with my Chromebook, and I'm at home, and you're on the air, so I thought I'd give you a call.
I'm thrilled you did. Thank you.
That last caller, I kept thinking, well, he's gonna address my issue, but unfortunately,
is it the same issue? You're changing?
No, it's similar, but it's different.
Okay.
For some reason, my diehard workhorse Acer Chromebook, for some bizarre reason, and maybe it's a combination of keys I'm hitting, or maybe it's a virus, or maybe it's something I don't know of, but as I'm typing like an email, when I hit a certain letter, the window, my tab bar will disappear, my address bar will disappear, the screen will be full of, for example, Gmail. Okay.
Oh, you're going full screen.
Yeah. And when so I'll open another email draft just to continue typing so that I can figure out the keystrokes that will reverse what I just did. So it's as if like there's a shortcut installed somewhere, a combination of keystrokes that cause this weird situation to happen.
It is, yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking through the Google has in their Chromebook help page, they have Chromebook keyboard shortcuts, and there's dozens of them. And this is one of those things where it really pays to learn what these are, not merely because you might get weird things happening, but these can save you a lot of time. I suspect one of the keystrokes is, let me give you one that might help. If you hit the Alt key and equals, that'll maximize the window. And then Alt minus will reduce it. So next time that happens, try Alt minus to see if that shrinks the window back down so that you see the tabs and the address bar and all of that stuff. There may be other ones that are, maybe other things that are happening to make that a full screen, but I think that's what's happening. You're seeing, and you know what, sometimes you want that, right? If you really want to focus on what you're writing, you don't need all the screen gadgets. You just want to see the page. But the trick is to figuring out how to get back to it. So try Alt minus. There's probably also a function key. Do you have function keys on your Chromebook? Up at the top there, above the numbers.
Well, there are those. Yeah, there are function keys.
So there's and One of them will be labeled that looks like you're making it full screen. I forget. I don't have it. Unfortunately, I'll start bringing a Chromebook to work. I don't have one with me right now, but one of those may also be what you're, and it's so easy as you're typing, especially if you're typing fast, just your pinky could strike one of these keys and boom, you're going to suddenly have a full screen and not know where you got to it. So that's almost certainly what's happening. Try Alt- to see if that fixes the problem. And it may be a function key as well. I'm pretty sure on Chromebooks. Is it F11? Mike in Rhode Island is saying it's F11. Try function key 11. That will zoom the screen out full. Get rid of all of the screen UI stuff.
Okay, can I interject?
Sure.
While you were talking to that previous caller, I power washed my Chromebook, and so
that might have been overkill.
Well, guess what?
What?
So now I'm trying to enter the password to my Wi-Fi system, and it's not letting me do it. I'm getting that weird thing happening with the keystrokes. For example, if I hit an alpha letter, which happens to be the first letter of the password, that password screen disappears, and I'm back to select a network.
Hey, that's not good either. I wonder if you have a faulty keyboard. That's another thing that can happen. Keys can get, it sounds like your enter key, for instance, might be stuck. What you could do to try and fix this, if you have a spare USB keyboard, just plug it in.
Oh, okay.
And see if that keyboard works. It may literally be that on your Chromebook, the keyboard has been damaged or one of the keys is stuck. This is not at all uncommon. Maybe your control key is stuck, and or a shift key is stuck, or your enter key is stuck. And if it is, then yes, you're going to get exactly this symptom. And I suspect that's related also to the spontaneous full screen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so you can just plug in a USB keyboard, and it should just immediately come up, and you can enter your password.
I'll do that. Thanks
okay.
so much, Leo. Love the show.
Hey, I'm really glad you listened. Thank you. I hope I helped you there. Yeah, boy, that's a coinky-dink. I've said that before, by the way, that word, coinky-dink. And somebody wrote me, said, would you please stop saying that? You're an old man. You shouldn't be saying little baby words. So I apologize. That's a coincidence. Then we had 2 calls in a row with Chromebook keyboard problems. I don't think they have an abnormal number of problems, certainly not more than the Macintosh and their horrific butterfly keyboard, but maybe they do. Remember, one of the disadvantages of Chromebooks is they tend to be cheap. That's why people buy them. They're very inexpensive laptops, as little as $150. Most Chromebooks are well under $500. And if you buy something that inexpensive, they're going to sacrifice. They're going to have generally they sacrifice on the screens, the trackpad, and the keyboard. Also, of course, processors and amount of memory and all of that stuff. So maybe that's that's what happened. It just wore out. It plumb wore out. That's coinky-dink. That's malarkey. Let's see. I have a minute and a half. Can I answer another call? Let's give it a shot before the Giz Wiz stops by. It's Brian on the line from Corona, California. Hi, Brian.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
Okay. Here's what I got.
Yes, sir.
Mine will be fairly short. I was going to print some stuff for Christmas when my printer died. It's only about 10 years old, so it was due.
It was due.
We only print, I'm going to say, 50 pages a month.
Well, that's actually more than a lot of people. If you print less than a few pages a week, maybe an inkjet's not the best choice because they can kind of get clogged up if they're underused. But if you're printing that much, that's 2 pages a day almost. I think an Epson EcoTank.
I was just corrected by my wife. I think I heard her incorrectly. She said 2 to 5 a week. I heard a day. So
okay,
probably closer.
Is it getting clogged? Is that the issue?
It's clogged.
Yeah.
I cleaned it. I jammed it.
Inkjets, that's often a problem. Epson tells me that the EcoTank printheads are specially coated so that they don't clog. But often I just tell people you're not going to have that kind of problem with a laser printer. For if you don't care about color, a laser printer is going to be fairly inexpensive these days, and light duty cycles don't bother them at all. But I gotta say, the Epson EcoTank is a fine choice for most people. The clogging really shouldn't happen, honestly, if you print once or twice a day or even once or twice a week. You shouldn't have it. And certainly my Epson EcoTanks do not have that problem. They have a special coating on the heads to prevent that kind of clogging. By the way, Epson is a sponsor. Disclaimer there. In fact, those Epson EcoTank printers are phenomenal because I don't want to say I hate ink cartridges, but you know how it is. You're in the middle of a print job, and because ink cartridges run out a lot, more often, it seems like at least half the time I'm printing, I have to stop and either put in a new cartridge or go to the store and buy a new cartridge. When the Epson EcoTank came out, I said, oh man, these guys is nuts. They're going to put 2 years of ink in the box. It's going to come with 2 years of ink. I don't have to go to the store, but every couple of years. That's crazy talk. And it's true. It's awesome. I also feel better because I'm not loading up the landfill with old inkjet cartridges. The Epson EcoTanks come with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box, print thousands and thousands of pages. And these supersized tanks are really easy to fill. You can't do it wrong. Each of the bottles is keyed. I've done it many times. Not many. Well, 3 times now because we have 3. So 2 at home and 1 at work. And so you just put the ink bottle in. It fills it up. It's no spill. No, you can't do it wrong. And then you just, I literally have not gone back to the store yet to buy ink. That's it. It's changing the way people print. And it's a great thing for the holiday season. If you know somebody like our last callers having trouble with their printer and frustrated, you got to take a look at the Epson EcoTank. It would make everybody so happy. And you can go ahead and just print to your little heart's desire, all the wish lists, the letters to Santa, and you could even do your holiday cards. And the color is spectacular, just gorgeous. So when you're thinking about the perfect holiday gift, add the Epson EcoTank printers, and they have a broad range of them, broad range of prices and capabilities. Put those on your shopping list so you can fill and chill like me. Check out EcoTank printers at Best Buy, Staples, Walmart, Target, or at Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Transform the way your home or office prints. Do away with out-of-ink frustration. Kind of love your printer again. Epson, EPSON.com/EcoTankLeo. EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill. Epson. Exceed your vision. EPSON.com/EcoTankLeo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We play disco because Dick Debartolo likes to dance into the show.
Absolutely.
He's Mad's maddest writer and our Gizmo wizard. Hello, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
I am well. Have you put up your famous fiber optic Christmas tree yet?
I have put it on the floor so that I can put it up for next week's show. I thought it was a bit early today, only being 7.
We had a late Thanksgiving. Christmas started November 1st this year. What are you
I know. It was ridiculous.
Have you had any snow in New York City yet?
We had a dusting of snow for about an hour. The park looked great, and then it went up to 40 degrees and everything left. But it was nice.
Yeah, no ice.
That's enough for me.
No dripping?
No.
We have that here, too, I couldn't believe it. We have dripping here. We had our holiday party for the company on Thursday at a little wine bar in town. It was really fun. And we're sitting there, we're having our beverages and our food and talking. And all of a sudden, one of my employees, Sarah, looks up and says, "Oh, it's snowing." And I said, "No, it's not." She said, "No, look." And I look out the window, and it's like white Christmas. It's snowing outside. I said, "This is California. What? This is unheard of." I go outside. Apparently, the little plaza where this event was, on the hour, they make snow. And it snows. It's beautiful until you get out in it, right? Did you go out in it, John? Because it isn't snow. It's like dish soap. And so it literally, they're smart because it disappears. It doesn't last. If it were snow, you'd get people slipping and sliding. it's just little bits of foam. I don't know what. It's a strange snow machine. It looks, if you're sitting and looking out a window, it looks just like it's, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. It's beautiful, but it's like bubbles.
Well, so you have dinner and do laundry at the same time.
I could literally have done my clothes if I'd brought them out there, and I could have done my laundry.
Perfect.
Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. What is your... Dick brings us gizmos every week that are just wild and crazy. Next week, maybe we could bring us a foam snow machine.
Maybe.
What do you have this week?
I have magnetic charging cables.
Oh. What's that?
Now, these are really neat. So I was always jealous that on the MacBook, when you plugged in the charger.
The MagSafe,
Exactly.
They stopped doing that,
I heard that.
People are so angry.
I know. And so I have this little 7-inch PC that I'll talk about one day. And I got up and I almost fell over the charging cable and pulled it on the floor. And then I was on Amazon and I saw these magnetic charging cables. And I said, you know what? Let me buy a couple of those from 2 different companies. So you get one cable and then you get 3 little magnetic tips. You get a micro USB, you get a USB-C, and they say, and one for an eye product.
They can't say the L word because...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the little tips and I'm thinking, these are so small. I'm going to lose these in no time. So I stick one in my phone and then I say, wait a minute. I'll just leave it in the phone.
Leave it in the phone. Is it small enough that it doesn't kind of stick out?
It doesn't. Oh. And then the Galaxy, my old Galaxy, which is micro USB, I stuck it in that because I always put it in the wrong way. I hate
micro USB. I just wish it would die. So show us, give us the little snap. Does it snap right in? Like, does it really get... Let me hear it.
Wait a minute. Let me get...
Make the snap. Do you have the phone? I want to hear how it snaps right in. Yeah. Yeah.
And that.
It's not a... Put it in front of the microphone. But do it in front of the microphone. So we can, oh, yeah. It's not real loud.
No, but here you can hear that.
And is it pretty... So it's strong enough... You couldn't hang the phone by it, but it's strong enough that it's
No, you don't want that. You don't want that because I put it in this little mini PC and pushed the PC and it disconnected. Now, I bought 2 brands. One is Garas, Garas, and the other one
I like this so much.
Yeah, Leo, it's $9.
Now, there's no link on your page yet. You haven't. Normally, when Dick does this, he goes to go yell at your webmaster, gizwiz.biz, G-I-Z.
Yes, I know. I'm looking at it, and it's going, we're sorry, we could not activate that link. I don't know what is...
Well, it'll be there, I'm sure, in a few minutes. Giz, G-I-Z-W-I-Z, Wiz.biz is his website. If you click the link that says the Giz Wiz visits the tech guy, apparently Dick's his own webmaster, and therein lies the... difficulty.
The problem. Okay. It should be live.
Oh,
now.
good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So you get the 3 of them, and the one to stay away from for me is CAFELE, because when I use those, I plugged it in and I got phone charging slowly.
Oh, that's not good.
With the Garas, I put it in and it charged my phone in about 53 minutes.
How much is this going to cost me?
It's $9, $8.99.
That's nice.
You get one cable and you get the 3 magnetic snap-on.
Oh, I get it. So you get different heads and you snap, you stick that. But I guess you could put that if you had different phones or different devices. Like my Amazon Echo, a lot of these devices now still have these micro USB, which drives me nuts. And by the way, micro USB does not wear well either. So the older devices with micro USB, they're not even kind of funky. So this might just solve that problem.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That is my website, right? It did go live finally.
It went live. It was just me. It was Leo. Okay, so you recommend the Garas one, not the waffle one.
Yes.
Koffel or whatever they.
Koffel.
Koffel.
Yeah.
It's a coffin cable.
Yeah. So I bought 2 sets, and I'm just leaving.
Koffel.
I'm sticking them in all the little gadgets. And now I'll have to buy something Apple so I can use that other dongle.
The other. The fact that they didn't license the name Lightning and it tells me that it may not be fully compliant. I don't know.
Probably not. For $9 to get 3 of them, I doubt if it's compliant.
It probably just charges. It doesn't do data or something like that.
Let's see. The other 2 things, it definitely says data and charging.
Okay. Well, maybe it does.
The Garris one says.
Yeah. Nice. Gizwiz.biz. While you're there, by the way, your chance to play the What the Heck Is That contest. It is some sort of weird gizmo or gadget, a close-up. You have till the end of December, the end of the month, to figure out what it is. Dick awards up to 18 autographed copies of Mad Magazine, 6 for the right answer, 12 for the dumb wrong answer. But it's got to be funny. And all the details are on the website, gizwiz.biz. Are you running out of Mads to give away? I mean, I thought it was over.
No. Right now they're getting the Mad 20, which is the next new Mad, which is the February issue, is going to be half original material. And then
the next one will be quarter. The next one will be an eighth and a 16th.
Yeah, by the end of the year, it'll be a sentence, a live sentence that's new.
But here's the beauty. It's going to be written by this guy right here. Mad Magazine's maddest writer, Dick Debartolo, gizwiz.biz. His podcast is at gizwiz.tv. Thank you, Dickie D.
Okay, buddy. See you next week.
Great to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a little time out, but I'll be back next time. I hope you will too. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great geek week. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Don't forget, techguylabs.com. That's our website all week long. Take care. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.